You look like you have a perplexed thought.
No, I'm just saying, if you bought something from someone, then you'd have their invoice. You could go right off.
You have a physical list.
Yeah.
As soon as you have a plan, you can get it into the system. If you're trying to pull it out of the air, it's going to look like you're pulling it out of the air.
Yeah.
Okay? Literally, it really is. Okay, any questions? Real quick. This is just concept, and then I'm going to have you apply it in this manner. If you don't have a pen, I've got tons of pens. If you need paper, I've got paper, okay? But in concept, here's what's happening. I'm going to go back to the map for a quick second.
See you later. Nice meeting you.
Okay, in theory, what happens? We exist in the system. We know that eventually we want to be here to the middle. We want to alter an inventory count or create some sort of a tube that we can pass things in and out of, okay? So in order to get there, we start vendor. We create a PO, we then check for the parts. If they're already there, piece of cake, we just add them. If they're not there, we have to create that new tube or cylinder, so we're going to kind of start being able to stuff it in. And then we just add and add and add. We kind of do a little bit of a loop. So once we've created the vendor and the PO, we go like this. To add our line items, it loops back and forth, depending on what we need to do, okay? And then as soon as we're done, we're done. We're ready to jump to another piece of the system. Okay, that's just in theory. Right now, what I would like to do is actually give you an assignment, okay? Your assignment is to come up with a vendor. And this could be your own self, it could be whatever you want. Very similar to what we had Sherry do just right here. You're going to come up with your own vendor, and you're going to come up with at least 3 items that you can add to this vendor that you want to tie to this vendor. So, for instance, we did Wilson's Finest, we did headgear and wrestling shoes. And that's what we bought from them, okay? So you're going to create your own vendor, and you're going to come up with 3 items.
So I can't use one of the existing vendors, I have to create a vendor?
Okay, I would recommend that we create a vendor. If you would like to use one, then that needs to be part of your plan. I'm going to use honeybee wax or whatever the heck it was, and then you're going to say, I'm going to get some bulk honey, and I'm going to add a couple more products, okay? Or something like that. If you'd like to do that, I have no problem. If you already have created a vendor and you want to use that, that's fine. But the goal is some sort of a PO, which has to be to a vendor, either existing or new, and then some sort of items, either existing and new, okay? And I'd like you to add at least 3 items to it. Any questions? I would highly recommend, if you have it, that you do it on paper, unless you're like, okay, cool, I already know what I'm going to do in my head. But if you have a plan, you'll be able to follow it to the T. If you didn't know that number.
Well, because I know I did it to the bean company.
Yeah.
You know what? You could technically go like this. Vendor, bean, go get it. What's my recent POs? That's one way.
Oh,
I could go PO homepage and show me my last 30 days. I could go PO last. Oh, that's the last one I entered. Like, there's a lot of different ways you could get to it if you didn't know that magic number of 20.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's go to 20. Let's see what we got. American Bean Company. The total was $225, done on the 21st, by Seymour. No payments currently, which is fine. The line items, you have 100 at 50 cents, and these are Pinto. And you have 100 at $100, or sorry, $1 a piece, and this is your Turtle Black. And
That's
then,
some valuable beans.
Yeah.
My only comment, I think you did excellent. And this is nitpicky, okay? But if I was a customer, I would really like to see the word Navy in a capital letter. And like just teeny. And you can technically go in
Well,
and
that's
change.
what I'm wondering. When I see the parts number, should I just do Pinto Black, Navy, and then do the description, Pinto beans,
Okay.
Turtle Black beans, Navy beans? I'm not sure I understood the
Okay,
difference.
perfect. What's the difference? So we have the same question over here, okay? Part number versus part description. What does each do?
A part number is something I identify it with, so it could be short.
Okay, cool. This is also tied all over the place, okay? So
Okay.
you don't want to blah, 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 okay? Often it'll be just numbers, it could be a quick thing, it could be something like this. The description, on the other hand, could be blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'd go like this. Short and searchable, long and explainable. Does that make sense? Kind of those are the difference. They're tied to the same piece, okay? They're tied to the same piece. So even right here, you could have even gone like this. Turtle. If you knew that that was a specific bean, hey, I've got navy, black, and turtle, okay? And then in your description, turtle, like if you wanted to do that. Just as an idea, okay? That's perfect. That's picture perfect. Anybody else have one that they want to show us? Greg, did you have one?
Yeah, number 19.
Number 19. If you guys want, just for fun, why don't you try to hack the system? You can make it go to 19. There's a hidden side to Craig, huh? That's great. That's great. So Craig, why don't you explain what we have here?
Okay, well, this is like an order for a motorcycle dealership who would order, inventory. He's got shirts and posters and things like that, and they're, just official would be Ducati items, and they just would be, inventory for a dealer.
Awesome, awesome. That's great. That's great. Piece of cake.
So Ducati, is that a real name of a motorcycle?
Yeah, it's an Italian motorcycle.
Okay. Now see how much I know about motorcycles.
Greg, that's awesome. That's awesome, awesome, awesome. Cherio, were you back there playing a little bit as well?
Always.
Hey, let's just for fun, when Sherry has us get to us, why don't you tell us the vendor name and we're going to go search recent POs, see if we can land on it that way.
Okay, vendor name, PlayStation Network.
So watch this. I'm going to go vendor, play, and enter. Here's PlayStation Network. I'm going to go right to this little link that says recent POs. Click. I can expand this out as far as I want to do it, but I see it as right here, number 16. And I'm probably going to go to the printable version. That's the easiest way to look at it. Unless she adds photos all the time. It's funny. Like I get there and like, oh, Sherry, there she goes. Like, just so you know, she's adding photos, but technically it could literally be the scanned copy of
The
item.
invoice or the packing slip.
Correct.
Yeah.
And each little item, when you create your item, you create your bee boxes, you create your tinctures, you create your motorcycle stuff. You can actually assign photos and scans to your images, like to your physical parts. So that little container, that little tube where we're tracking our parts, you can attach a photo to that. So all of a sudden, when you go to search it, you can even help your photos help you look up what it is. Okay?
Oh, Brandon, on this one?
Yes.
This is kind of a little pet peeve of mine. The third line, you can't have delivery or something like that on a PO that'll mess up your balance sheet.
Okay. Okay.
And so that has to be when you pay for it, this is the way down the road. You have to, because I do a lot of behind the
true.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Sure.
things, and this is kind of a pet peeve of mine, because I track these down all the time.
Okay. No problem.
So when you pay for this, then you put your delivery charge or your discount or whatever on the expense receipt.
Okay. Okay.
Don't put it here.
No, which is ethically correct.
Yeah, because like I said, that's what I end up doing.
It's
Sure,
pet
sure,
peeve.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, that's great. There are ways you can get around it, but I would listen there. That's a pet peeve.
Yeah.
So if I have an invoice that comes in, I don't put the shipping or the tax on it?
Not on
When-
physically on the PO.
Not on the PO.
When you go to check out,
It's not a
Pay for it
physical
on the
item.
expense side, then
Okay.
it'll show up in your, like a profit and loss in your balance sheet.
So then do I put it in a line item when I actually?
Yes.
When you pay for
When
it.
I pay for it,
Yeah,
then
and
it's
then you would
line
link that payment to the PO, and then it gets taken care of.
that's
Okay.
delivery, taxes, what else?
Discount.
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 Okay,
Good catch, right?
Well, like I said,
good, that's good.
He hunts this kind of stuff down.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes,
That's
but he
great.
does.
well, if you would run your balance sheet on this day, it would be off the $35
Right.
because it'll pop up.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yep.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Good catch.
Okay, so Sherry O, why don't you tell us what we got here?
Well, we have a home theater system inclusive to PS3.
Wow. Wow.
And
So
we
I
have,
hope you guys can see a huge difference in this. Okay, look at that part number compared to a description. That's a good analogy. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes they could be the same thing. Say if you're selling bees. Okay, it might be that
But like a
simple.
bees instead of, I would say, these are a northern Italian bee, which is very specific to a beekeeper,
Okay.
instead of just bees. So that,
Right.
that-
So ideally, your part number would be N something B's, okay? And then these are the northern Italian.
Yeah.
And then your southern, you know, Florida.
Mexican killer bees,
Yeah.
warning.
Yeah. Those are your M such and such bees, and
Yeah.
then you'd say Mexican killer bees.
Okay, so let me just ask you a question. So if he was really selling bees, and maybe he did have killer bees he was going to sell, just go with me here. So then I could actually use a flex grid, maybe if I wanted him to sign a release form, so that it could flag it and say release form signed or something like that. Is that what I'd use flex grid for?
Okay, once the invoice is created, I wouldn't do anything. If you wanted to, you could actually add it to the physical part. But when you're doing your normal process, it's not searching the flex grid per se.
Okay,
So you would just do the item like this. If you, after the fact, you could either create a standalone like disclaimer,
okay,
and then they'd have to sign it. Or if you physically had a whole bunch of copies of the little disclaimer that they had to sign, they sign it when you get done. You could scan it and just attach it to the invoice,
Okay.
and you're done. Like,
Okay.
I would just scan it and attach it. Or you could physically flex grid it. Hey, just so you know, he actually had this
he
piece.
signed
But
it.
you're already there. I would just use an image gallery at that point.
Okay.
Okay, that's a great.
Like I walked into a hot sauce place once,
Mm-hmm.
and the hot sauce, the receipt had a disclaimer I had to sign. Right on the receipt.
Yeah.
They said, it's so hot, you have to sign a disclaimer. It was right on the receipt. I thought that was pretty wild. And this is where you would do that.
So
Not here.
we've skipped a ton of corp-wide settings, and we haven't really even got to the invoicing stage yet. But guess what? Corp-wide settings, you have 3 little mini kind of disclaimers that you can do. They're limited to a certain number of characters. Or we have the big granddaddy that's like, knock yourself out. And this little granddaddy one says, do you want to attach it in line so every invoice has it? Or do you want it as a standalone? And so then basically you could virtually be printing your own
Disclaimer.
disclaimer type thing.
Okay.
And if you need formatting, that it's actually HTML compatible. So if you knew how to do line breaks and underlines, and you could you could have a ton of stuff. And if you can't figure it out, if you have a scanned copy, you say, "Hey, I have a scanned copy. Brandon, can you help me?" And I said, "Sure. I'll convert that into HTML for you." "Oh, sweet. That's all I wanted." And guess what? You're on your way. And you have this beautiful looking little disclaimer that's kind of custom made because it's HTML compatible. Meaning we can put lines and bullets and bolds and returns, and like that's how you can kind of format some of the stuff. So.
Okay.